Hello, welcome to Read by Ed. Today's book review, I am reviewing Who Moved My Cheese. I don't know why I say it like that. I just feel like it sounds like that. Who moved my cheese? Huh? Say, who moved my cheese? I'm reviewing Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson, an amazing way to deal with change in work and life. And so some of y'all know about Who Moved My Cheese. I had never heard about this. I actually started listening to audiobooks using the Libby app. Shout out to Libby. Libby, I'm not sponsored by Libby, but Libby, if you want to sponsor me, hey, I'm down. All right. But the link in the show notes is there for Libby. Libby is used through public libraries. But I wanted to start listening to audiobooks. As you can see, I have a lot of books behind me. I've even written a printed book right here, The Player Development Guide. You can find that in the show notes. And I recently started doing audiobooks because life has been busy, kids growing. I'm on the road a lot, so I have a lot of time to listen to things. And so I wanted to get some quick books to kind of get that audiobook muscle going, if that makes sense. And one of the books that was suggested to me was Who Moved My Cheese? And I was like, all right, I'll listen to it. And it ended up being one of the better books I've listened to or read. And so Who Moved My Cheese is a story about four characters. You have two mice and two little people. The mice are Sniff and Scurry. The little people are Him and Haw. So basically what happens is there's this cheese in this area. They all like make the little people make their whole livelihood around this cheese. And then the mice, Sniff and Scurry, they just sniff and go wherever they see cheese, smell cheese, they sniff, they go and they scurry there. The little people, Him and Haw, made a living there. So what happened was the cheese was gone at some point, and Him and Haw sat there and they're like, well, the cheese is going to come back. Well, Sniff and Scurry, they took off, right? They didn't smell any cheese, so they scurried off to find some new cheese. And so Him and Haw sat there, and for a while they were like, it's going to come. And they kept showing up every single day, going to the same place to find the cheese that was there, and the cheese was not there. And so Him was like, we're going to stay here. We're going to be right here. This cheese, somebody's going to bring our cheese back. This is not right. Who took our cheese? Just living in a entitled aspect. And Haw was like, I'm going to go find the cheese. And Him was like, I'm not going to find the cheese. Somebody's going to give us our cheese back. And so that's the basis of the story. Here are the three takeaways I have from it. And Haw was really, when he went out to find the cheese, he hadn't been out in a while. He hadn't used his tools in a while because they had set up their life around this cheese. It became very comfortable. And one question that comes from this, and the author says a lot of people go to this line in the book when they show them the books, have them sign it. That question or a takeaway for me is, what would you do if you weren't afraid? What would you do if you weren't afraid? And so this was Haw thinking about, hey, I'm going to go out and go find cheese, and I'm going to go down these alleys and go down these things that I've been told not to go down. But the question is, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And that was a big question for me because I do a lot of things, right? I do stuff. I have the book I wrote. I do a lot of stuff. I hold an event. And sometimes I can get a little afraid. I can get a little in a sense of procrastination, right? Like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. That's not safe. That doesn't make sense. I don't need to take that risk. I'm risk averse, right? But what would I do if I wasn't afraid? And so it's just when I'm sitting there listening to the book, Who Moved My Cheese, and like change, right? When change happens, what would I do if something changes? What would I do if I wasn't afraid? Would I also look for the change? Would I stand there? And so it was just a question that really sat with me. And I think about that. I've heard people say it, but it just really hit me. Like, what would I do if I truly wasn't afraid? If I wasn't afraid. One of the things is this channel, right? The reviews. I had dropped. I was consistent. Then I wasn't consistent. I wasn't consistent. I was consistent again. I was afraid of like, man, people going to be like, this dude shows up, but he never finishes. And I was like, you know what? I'm not afraid. I'm going to just show up. And so this is one thing I'm doing is showing up to do these reviews. But I want y'all to listen to that question. What would you do if you weren't afraid? Number two, if you don't change, you will end up extinct. If you don't change, you will end up extinct. So they kept the little people, Him and Haw, stay there, and they were going without food. They were going without food, right? Him was going without food. Haw was going without food because they were still looking for the cheese, and they didn't want to change. They didn't want to change, and they were going to become extinct just because they didn't want to change, because they were afraid of what was out there. They were afraid of what's new. Haw even found something different, apples that were sustaining. He's like, but where's the cheese? And this other place, there were apples. There were apples, and he was like, but where's the cheese? And it was like he wasn't changing. He could have came extinct because he was looking for cheese, but the sustenance that he needed was the apples. And so if we don't change, we can become extinct. And a third takeaway is to expect change and look for it. Expect change and look for it. Things change. They change a lot. I mean, they change. As someone who does consulting with, college organizations, pro organizations, high school organizations, it changes. The sports have changed. College football is not what it was when I used to work in college football. Things change, weather changes, the economy changes, right? Everything changes. Like, you have to expect change and look for it. You have to look. We got to be like Sniff and Scurry. It changed. Let me get out of here. Smell something, go, right? Go. It talked about it in the book. Don't analyze situation. Just make a decision and go, right? And so we can get in our way a lot if we don't expect change. If we think, oh, it's going to be like this, that salary or this relationship or this town or this politician, whatever it may be, this job, right? This body, right? Man, I wish I looked like I did when I was 28, 27, right? Things are going to change, right? It's going to change. You need to expect it and look for it. You need to smell the cheese often. Smell where you're at so you make sure it doesn't go bad. Because one thing they started to eat molded cheese, right? And it happened. But these are really three great takeaways from this book. This book is it really blew me away. I didn't know it was a best-selling book. I just, found some stuff out later, but it's a best-selling book. Dr. Johnson did an incredible job with this, and this has helped a lot of people. A lot of organizations, sports teams have used this to deal with change. Hall went into the maze, and he enjoyed the process. I had a note in my phone from listening to it. Hall enjoyed the journey with no direction and no cheese. He was just invigorated by the environment, invigorated by change. It was really, really invigorated by movement, by the movement. He didn't even have no direction. He had no cheese, but he was invigorated by the movement. So that is Who Moved My Cheese, a great book right there. If you want to get that book in person or in your hand, the link is in the show notes. My book is in the show notes as well. And also, YouTube says this is the best video you should watch from videos that I reviewed. Thank you so much for your time. Subscribe and share and find out who moved my cheese. Yeah.